What's up guys, Chris here today in the Comor store in Whistler, here with Andreas.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah, today we're going to be looking at the Salomon Snowboards.
Salomon, what a classic lineup.
So the first board we're going to be talking about today is the Assassin. Is also the most popular snowboard.
Yeah guys, when Buddy shows up and wants one board to do a little bit of everything, it's got that classic camber shape underfoot. Camber gives you all of that snapback, that response, that stability when you're landing jumps, but then it's got a rockered tip and tail for flotation while maintaining a twin shape, and you can see that it's got a little bit of a wider tip and tail, and that wider tip and tail just makes for a really good flotation when you're in deeper snow. This side cut is actually made up of various different arcs of side cut that get more aggressive as you go towards the center of the board. You can really lay in a nice hard arcing turn on this board, and it's gonna hold that edge nicely. When you look at this guy here, it's got their Eco Popster Booster base to it. So when you look at their Popster,
it's a mouthful.
What they've done is they've milled out the board to be a little bit thinner in areas where you don't need the board to be super responsive or super stable, and then they've made the board wider under areas where you need that reinforcement or where you want a little bit more rigidity underfoot.
And it's got bamboo rods going through there for extra pop. And cork. It's got cork in the sidewalls.
Cork sidewall, which is a dampener, mitigating vibration traveling up your legs. The board feels a little bit more stout, a little bit more solid underfoot. And then in the tip and the tail, they've got bamboo traveling out at a 45-degree angle from the mid portion out into the contact points. And that gives the tip and the tail of the board added response, added snapback, added pop. So you can use it as a freestyle board, you can use it for backcountry. It's definitely a great jump board. I wouldn't say that it's super jibby.
Like perfect board for Whistler.
Yeah, this is a great board for Whistler if you're looking to do a little bit of everything. Alright guys, next up we've got the Assassin Pro, the big brother to the Assassin.
The two most popular Salomon boards of the previous year get made into pros. So like the Assassin, this is a twin. It's designed to be more powerful, stronger, more pop. So it's going to be great at high speeds, going through uneven terrain. Really good going off of jumps. You're going to get a lot of pop and a lot of energy coming out of this board. And maybe for the heavier set person that still wants a board that's going to be nice and responsive in all different types of terrain.
Yeah guys, last season I got to ride one of the Assassin Pros, and it was a really good all-rounder. Lightweight, nice and stiff, definitely performance-driven, and energetic. It gave me a lot of energy back when I was carving it.
Not too hard to get a pop out of it?
No, it wasn't super jibby though. I would say that it is definitely better for big mountain, better for jumps, better for free ride, and I actually preferred it when I set it back a little bit.
And the price point on this isn't a lot more than the regular Assassin either.
Yeah, it's a $50 upgrade, and you get that carbon additive instead of the bamboo, and it's just a lighter overall core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good board.
Awesome board.
And then next onto their second most popular board of last year, the HUCK knife.
The HUCK knife is definitely a win for the Salomon team. This board has received all kinds of acclaim. It was part of the original black board test. Every board that was tried out by a series of pro riders were entirely blacked out. So the HUCK knife is a huge testament to their line in the sense that it won that black board test. This guy is a fantastic park-driven freestyle board. You can still use it all mountain, but it's on the softer side, and it's definitely for the person that likes riding freestyle. With this guy here, you're getting a true twin board, and I think one of the things that makes the HUCK knife feel fantastic for park is that it's just very consistent. It's very predictable. This board utilizes their EQ Rad side cut. It's a blend of 3 different side cuts coming together in a radial design, making the board a little bit more forgiving and easier to tweak. So great for lining up jumps in the park, really good for stability on the edge when you're laying in a turn. And then the overall board being softer flexing, it's very forgiving, very easy to get the board to comply with what you're doing. So if you don't land a jump exactly perfect, you can still maneuver it around to get it to land in the way that you want it to so that you land the jump. You can see here, you got quite a bit of range of flex out of it. It's fairly compliant. You got a lot of pliability with this board.
Awesome graphics, probably the coolest graphics.
Yeah,
so far.
This graphic, guys, it looks a lot better once it's out of its saran wrap. But
even in it, I think it looks good.
Next up, we've got the Salomon HUCK Knife Pro.
Yeah, this one they added a lot of technology to over the normal HUCK knife. You got, first off, carbon stringers going through the tip and the tail that you can actually see through the top of the board, which is cool, like a crow's foot coming out. And then also has their damplifier, which is a material they put in the tip and tail that you can also see in the top sheet, and that just helps to reduce the swing weight and the chatter and just makes it easier to go fast through uneven terrain.
Yeah, it makes the board more nimble, easy to steer.
And it's also got the gunslinger sidewalls too, like the Assassin Pro, so carbon going through the sidewalls. Lots of carbon added, lots of new technology, a lot of pop.
Definitely a little bit firmer than the normal HUCK knife, more for that person who's looking for a park board that accelerates its speed, you know, that is going to do all the same things as a normal rider would be doing, but faster. So bigger jumps, more for speed,
But
definitely.
There's no jump too big for this board.
Yeah, this guy is like their jump go-to board. This would be a perfect board for Black Park, for example.
Yeah, totally. Then moving on to the villain, which is Luis Paradise's Pro model.
This board has been fine-tuned for park performance. This is Salomon's go-to freestyle twin board, and it's Luis Paradise's Pro model, so you know it's good. This guy is a little bit firmer than the HUCK knife, and it's got some additives of carbon from the regular version.
So in terms of park, you have the HUCK knife and the villain, and the HUCK knife being more jump specific and the villain being more rail
Specific, yeah.
But
yeah.
both able to do each other, just more.
The HUCK knife is a little bit softer, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more consistent feeling because it's just a straight aspen core the whole way through. So better for rails than the HUCK knife, a little bit firmer, better for loading a jump. Still a great all-rounder freestyle snowboard. So yeah, guys, this is their quadrilaser side cut. A little bit more aggressive than the EQ Rad that's on the HUCK knife, so it's better for high speeds, better for laying in a hard arcing turn if you're just carving this board around all mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright guys, next we've got a staple to this town, the Salomon 6-stick.
I definitely think this is one of the most interesting ranges of boards because each board has a different function. So the 5-1, you have a shorter, fatter board. It's actually the widest of the range, and so more for trees, nimble, quick edge to edge. And then the 57 is, yeah, kind of in between. Can do a little bit of everything all around the mountain.
All mountain free ride, yeah.
And then the 61?
For steeps.
Yeah, so 61 is going to be the slow, you're going to be able to do the biggest turns.
It's got the longest side cut radius.
Yeah, that's the one. It's got the longest side cut, so you're going to be doing bigger long turns out in like alpine bowls and those big open areas. And it's a tapered twin, so it's a twin between the contact points with a slight taper towards the nose. See, the tail's a little bit swallowed out and the nose is actually extended up. As you're riding it normally on groom runs, it's going to feel like a twin, it's going to ride like a twin. In terms of profile, this has the rock out, so it's flat in between the feet, a little bit of camber underfoot, and then rocker on the tip and tail.
Yeah, it's cambered where it needs to be cambered. So underfoot, you still get that pop and that stability, but then the flat section right between the feet makes for a board that's a little bit surfier when you're in powder, so it's easy to plane around, easy to get that board to steer. And then in the tip and the tail, you got a rockered section, and that rockered lift makes the board easily initiate a turn, and it also gives the board better flotation when you're in deeper snow.
And it also has Salomon's fastest base. So this is the sintered EG base. They do extruded, sintered, and extruded EG, sintered EG. The EG stands for Electra Gallium. Electra just means they've added carbon in there as well. which helps to conduct electricity, any static that you might get when riding over the snow with any impurities and dirt. And then the same thing with the gallium is a metal. And that again just helps with the conductivity and just means you get better glide and you'll be able to move faster across the snow.
Guys, it took us a lot of research to figure out what electrogallium meant.
I thought it was a new Marvel superhero. Apart from that, you got cork in the sidewalls. You got their more expensive core in there as well, so nice and light.
Yeah, this is a great all-rounder, but for the person that's maybe a little bit more on the side of free ride, you know, when they envision what they're doing on the hill here in Whistler, they're thinking powder, they're thinking steeps, they're thinking getting off piste and exploring a little bit more. This board still has that twin shape, so you can take all of the elements that you enjoy about the park into the backcountry.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the way that they've designed it, with each board having a different specific like nuance, I think it's the line that I find most interesting.
Oh, definitely firmer than when you give that HUCK knife or villain a hard flex. This thing.
Were you ready?
Oh.
Okay, and then next up is the all-mountain Mount Bachelor inspired
Super 8.
Super 8.
I think out of the entire line, this is my favorite looking board out of the Salomon lineup. It's got a topographical map of Mount Bachelor on here. This is a fantastic all-mountain free-ride driven board by Salomon. When you go to the Super 8, you're sort of moving away from the freestyle element of the brand. You're moving more into big mountain and powder, and this is one of the boards that I really enjoy riding because of its backseat camber. So what that does is it makes a board that still has a lot of stability, a lot of spring, a lot of liveliness in the back portion of the board under your back foot. But then the front end here gives you a lot of flotation. It really lifts off the ground once the board is weighted, and that gives the board fantastic float when you're in deeper snow, and it also makes the board initiate turns super easily. It really floats, it really wants to plane out of the snow and travel through the chop, making it easier on your knees. This guy utilizes basalt through the core, and basalt is a volcanic ash that's been ground down and put into the core of the board to make it more responsive and give it a lot of pop. Unlike carbon fibers or unlike epoxies, basalt can go into the board without using a ton of glue, so the basalt keeps the board firm, rigid, very lively feeling. It reduces the weight of the board, and it's an eco-friendly substance.
Yeah, and it's not like we're running out of volcanoes or anything.
Exactly. The next time that the San Andreas fault line goes and a volcano erupts, you just think about how that material can be added to your snowboard.
You can just see it barely through the board, but there's a little cutout piece at the bottom where you can see it riding through.
Again, guys, this board's utilizing their quadratic side cut, definitely for that person that's looking for accuracy when they're carving around.
And then, of course, like named after its namesake, Mount Bachelor, is just a powder heaven.
Yeah, so fantastic for riding deeper snow and for the kind of conditions that you'd see at Mount Baker.
Bachelor. So with the profile, it's obviously leaning towards powder, but how does it compare to a powder-specific board?
Well, this board's definitely capable for powder, but I would say that it's also going to be a great resort board. Something like this guy here is a little bit more surfy. It's going to definitely plane out of the snow easier, but it doesn't work as a good all-rounder. You wouldn't carve this board as well. When you look at something like the Super 8, you're still getting a standard side cut. You're still getting more of that regular shape board. Although it's great for powder, it still works as a carving board. You can still take this on piste. Definitely still works everywhere. So next up, we've got the Taka. This is their most powder specific in the Salomon lineup, and it's also the most set back.
So this is named after one of their Japanese pro riders, and it is made specifically for deep powder and that Japan powder style feel. In terms of the shape, it has the most classic of shapes, just a full radial side cut to it. The profile on this is very interesting because it has quite dominant camber under the foot, with a tiny rocker at the tail and then a huge rocker at the front. And in terms of how it's set up, it's got a 30 mil setback in there, so already set up for powder. But if you look at the insert packs, you can see it also has a recommended and a powder, and it has 7 different screw points. So it's got a lot of flexibility in how you can set the board up if you want to just do a normal day riding or a deep powder day. It's got their ghost green core, which is one of their lighter cores. It's got their EG centered base, so their fastest base that they do. So it's basically a fast, high-end, premium powder capable snowboard, and awesome in Japan.
This thing just looks super intrinsic, very classic. It looks Japanese. It's got that full wood veneer top sheet, and then you can't really see it, but on top they've interlayered in this sort of wave design.
From the Fifth Element.
It kind of looks like the Fifth Element. Taka wanted a board that was specific to powder, that was really set back, that had that big front end shovel, and this is what he got. This thing is really going to accelerate when you're riding backcountry, slack country, 30 centimeters of fresh powder. It's the most set back in their lineup, and that setback really helps the tail sink and the front shovel float.
Andreas, I feel like a lot of these boards fit your style of riding, but which would you choose?
Oh man, guys, I think if I were going to pick one, I'd pick the Super 8. Just because it's so capable, it's resort friendly, it's going to work on a day where you're just looking to ride groomers, but then it will also work on an awesome powder day, and it would be very indicative to the kind of terrain that I ride. In Kybers and Million Dollar Ridge, more powder riding, more tree riding.
I myself probably go for the 6-stick, that variation you get with the different sizes and profiles and the way the board is supposed to be used.
What size would you go for?
I think I would go for the largest size.
The 62?
Yeah.
More capable of speed.
There's nothing like laying out a nice powder turn when you're going fast.
It's true.
Moving on, we have a couple of women's boards that we are going to try to give as much information about as we can, not being women.
Yeah, so guys, the Salomon Wonder, one of our absolute staples for lady riders. This is a great all-mountain, do-everything category board, and it's not super demanding, so it's a great board for somebody who's looking to get into the sport, maybe get on a snowboard that still has that camber profile, and then accelerate, get from that beginner level to more of that intermediate range snowboarder. Camber underfoot gives you the stability and the pop that you're looking for, and then rocker in the tip and the tail make the board easy to initiate a turn, easy to get that flotation. It's a super flexy board, so very pliable, very forgiving, and it's confidence inspiring being as lightweight as it is. In the core, you still get a little bit of basalt, and that basalt is what's giving the board more pop and more rebound. So you still get a board that is very lively and very responsive.
Okay, and then here I have the Pillow Talk, which is kind of like the female version of the 6-stick. It's a tapered twin. You have a rock out camber profile, so it's still going to be nice and forgiving. Still have a bit of camber as well to help give you some feedback from the board and give you some extra pop, stuff like that. Centered base on there as well, so nice and fast. It's got rubber in the side cut as well to help dampen while you're riding and just make the ride a bit smoother. And great for that lady that wants to take a board a bit more off-piste, go exploring around the mountain a little bit more, kind of in that intermediate advanced range.
Yeah, it's nice and soft flexing, which is great in the powder. It makes for a board that is very... It makes for a board that's very pliable, very forgiving, easy to arc around on. You can get a lot of style and form out of a nice soft flexing board like this one. Whoa! That was really good! Alright guys, so we don't have all of the Salomon boards here in the store today, but we do have a nice range that we think works really well for Whistler. All right, guys, so that's the Salomon lineup that we brought into Comor this season. If you want to check any more of them out, come on in and see me here at Comor Whistler. We can talk about all the different Salomon boards and figure out which one's best for you.
Thanks, Andreas, for letting me come down here and educating me and hopefully you guys on their lineup. Obviously, Salomon being one of the biggest snowboard brands in the industry, a lot of history, well-made products, and yeah, just great snowboards.
A ton of research and development has gone into the brand, so they're definitely one of the biggest brands out there. And here in Whistler, we're super happy to be carrying the Salomon stuff. It's very popular.
Yeah, so coming down to Comor on Main Street in Whistler, say hi to Andreas and check out some Salomon boards.